Right, back again. This video is going to be about why are the con rods looking burnt on both sides. Now if you look at the bolts, these threads, this thing hasn't, in my opinion, been touched. So I've taken the head off because of low compression. And what I believe is, I believe that with it having 22,000 mile on, being 39-year-old, doing 3 mile on its last 2 MOTs, or should I say 3 mile last since 2001. It's been MOT twice on its history. I think some clever bugger has flashed it, and with it being worn on the pistons, I think somebody's created a little bit too much heat and just thrashed it and been a bit of an idiot. Now obviously if the pistons or the rings are worn, I think it's been igniting below the piston. Now the bike runs, or it did. I like to see you get it running now. Now I've got nowhere at all, a tiny bit of movement on the con rods side by side, which is fine, but I've got no movement nowhere at all up and down. Now I have put a little bit of 2-stroke down there while I've got it off. What my plan is to do is to go and have a look at the barrels, put the old piston rings in the barrels and measure the rings. I should actually put the rings in the barrels, not the pistons. And I've got a cheap set of brand new standard 64mm piston rings. Now if I'm going to be putting the new rings in the head and running the bike, I'm not sure, but I'm going to hone it first, and I'm going to take it stage by stage before I decide what I'm going to do. So that's where I think this has come from. The way I would like to think is to see what it's like when if I can get it running and it starts easier, just to see what it's like. Is there a possibility I could hone it, put the old pistons in, put the new piston rings in, depending on the measurements, and then see what it's like. Now I have got a full bearing kit, complete seal kit. I am planning on eventually stripping it and splitting the cases and just giving it a full refresh, because I think she's a little bit tired. She doesn't feel it here, but I don't know what it's like inside. So that's my plan. So let's go and have a look at these two barrels. The head is perfect. I want to get these measurements of the old rings and the measurements of the new rings and see what kind of wear I've got. But I also intend, like I said before, to hone the barrels, and if it needs rebored, then I'll get it rebored. So here is the left hand side or the near side, whichever you want to call it. It's been stripped, got the power valves out. There's the exhaust ports. I have washed it, I've taken off all the dirty grime and grease. There's the base. You can see where the heat has been. You can see some of the heat, some of these brown marks. So it needs a good clean. I do intend to I'm going to solder blast it and repaint them, well, once I've decided what I'm going to do here. So can you see inside there? I mean, do I need a bit more light? Let's get that light. Let's have a look inside this left hand barrel. You can see. I know what you're all going to say. You're probably going to say, that needs a rebore, that needs a rebore, rebore. Now this is just a test to see if it does or if it doesn't. There's the base of it. Turn it back over. Have a look at this side. See if there's a mark down there. I can't nail any of these marks. Can't feel them, not properly. Right, so you know it's been run by some little hooligan. It's a little bit rusty because obviously I've washed it, but I've dried it off. A little bit of flash rust. I'll stay there once I've honed it. So this is the left barrel. Here's the left piston. Obviously I've soaked this in a little bit of oil just to lubricate it. I have marked it left, of course. There's the heat underneath. Right, it was all burnt, tarnished. And that's what's telling me that I believe that this may get away with another, just a set of rings. There's no movement in there hardly whatsoever. Yes, it's going to slide down. Let's turn it over. Have a look at the movement in there. Hardly anything. You can't even hear it. So I'm going to put the old rings on, and I'm going to put the rings inside the barrel. Measure the gap. I'm going to put the new rings in the barrel and measure the gap. Let's measure the bottom of the barrel against the bottom of the piston. Spec says standard 64mm. Yes, my battery's dead. 64mm. And let's measure the bottom of the piston. I'm not saying that the barrel's going to be round inside there. I'm just saying that what we've got here, we've got a spec of a 64mm piston that doesn't hardly move. Well, it doesn't. It's got no slap at all. And what I want to try to do is I want to see, do I need to rebore? And I'm very curious about trying to do a compression test with a new set of rings after I've honed the inside of it out. So can I get away with a hone, put a new set of piston rings on and see what it's like, rather than getting it rebored? Does it need to be rebored? Price for reborn pistons? I'm not really concerned about the money, to be totally honest. I'm more curious about, is she still fit? So here's the old rings. Let's take one. Take the thicker of the two. I believe the thicker of the two is the bottom ring. Just for the sake of it, let's slide it in. Slide the piston in. And can we get a measurement of that gap? Now I believe spec says it should be. What does it say? What did I write down? I think we said 0.7 millimeter. So what I've got and what I've measured, yeah, have a look. I measured, I've got 0.838 millimeters on that gap there, on that piston ring. And the maximum spec is 0.7. So I want to try a new ring and see what the difference is. Where's my pen? Where's my pen? No, yes it is. Ha. Old. Right, let's try the new ones. Brand new rings. Here we go. Brand new set of standard 64mm rings in the same place. I will try them at the top as well. I'm trying bottom and top. Let's have a look at that gap. See that gap there? Minute. This is the new ring. Right, okay, so I've tried it. A bit of fidgety because I haven't got a camera bloody stand, but never mind. Standard one in here, got millimeters. 0.381. On a brand new set of standard rings, it just gets in. You just feel it catching. And that's 0.381. Hold on. New 381. The old ones 0.838. So my plan is to put in a new set of rings on the old pistons. Mind, those are absolute nightmare getting them power valves out. New bearings and seals for that. Clean them all up. These are going to get clean. I'm going to soda blast these. If anybody's interested, I'll show you what I used. I did a bit of soda blasting on this one. I'll quickly show you it. I did a little bit of soda blasting on this, look, just here. I cleaned that side with this. I haven't done it properly yet. I've only had a a little box of bicarb soda, look. I didn't get much done, it doesn't go very far. And I'll show you the gun I used. I have had this for years. And there's the little gun. I put that little box of soda in that gun, and it clean like a trooper. So a price of blasting 2 barrels and 2 cases, £140 plus VAT. If anybody else can think of that cheaper, by much, well, trust me, I am going to do them myself. I got a price of a complete engine rebuild, got a price of a rebore, piston, I got all the prices. I don't know why I got prices, I was just curious, but it's going to be done by myself. It's more fun, more fun. Want to check the other side and see where we are, and then I'm going to clean these, I'm going to retop these threads, get all this dirt off them. Not yet, but to come. Tell us what you think about these sizes. Tell us what you think. Am I wasting my time, in your opinion, putting these old pistons in? New rings for a tenner, 10 quid for a new set of rings. Someone's selling them. Are they any good? Do I take a risk? Guess that's my choice. But what would you do? Let us know. Thanks. So I've got the piston back in. I've got the new rings in. And what I used to do when I used to do this years ago, I used to put it under the light, put the piston at the top, got the new rings in, turn the light out, and see if you can get any light at all coming down the rings. Now turn the light out. Let's have a little look. Can anybody see any light coming through there? Put my hand in the way. There's no light coming through there whatsoever. Nothing. Nothing at all. No light. I've measured them. The old ring's out of spec, well worn, well beyond limits. But the new ones could be the trick. Now, what I forgot to mention on this, which I didn't notice at first, took a little bit of looking and investigating, which I've been doing, is this is your right hand side piston on the right hand side barrel. This is the one I did a bit of blasting on. See if it would, the soda would take off some of the paint. Now, I noticed on this one, this is the worst one. This was the one that was more worn, which is what I'm going to check now. I've checked the left hand side with a bit of honing. I'm really pushing towards putting it back on the bike and seeing how it runs in relation to compression and how it starts before I decide to tear it down and split the casings and rebuild the motor itself and get a rebore if I need one. On this one's a little bit more tarnished and it'll have a little bit more fire going down the side of it. Now if I go on the right hand side of the engine, and if you look at the crank, it's just the same as the other. It's pretty bloody burnt. Now I'm not a friggin' genius on these cranks. I mean, anyone recommends or give us any ideas? Look at that. I mean, it's just burnt. Is it knackered? Or has it just been tarnished with that explosion down low? Anyway, getting back to the piston. whoever builds these, whoever's into them day in, day out, may be able to help us out. This is the first time I've done this now. 15 year? No, 12 year? Something like that. Since I last built a power valve engine. And this one's got a ring. The bottom ring is stuck. You can see it. It's stuck. And I didn't really take much notice of that until recently. And it won't budge. I'm going to do the same measurements on this side. Let's have a look at the barrel. Let's get the light. We have the light. Right, I did scrub all the muck off it. Can't really see it, to be honest with you. It just looks grummy. There you go, a bit of flash rusting. Does that look bad? You know, look at that port there. How does that port look like from here? Doesn't look pretty. Like you see, I'm just a guy in the street. So I cannot get any of my nails on that when I've got bare hands and I've got my gloves on. Look at this side. Look at this discoloration there. Has it just taken off the surface? And we'll hone it, take that off and clean that up. I'm going to hone this tomorrow. Now, if you look at the piston, remember arrow towards the exhaust, turn that around, there's the exhaust side, and on the right hand side, turn it over, meaning the left hand side, that's where all the heat was created. Now look at this bit here, how bad is that? And that's what I'm curious on. How will this do with honing? Let's get the measurements and see what the measurements on this side is, and I'll come back. Just as a, I don't know, curiosity kill the cat situation again, I want to show you what I've done. I've stuck that in that ultrasonic cleaner for 5 minutes. And that is the left hand side piston. It's been in the ultra solid cleaner. I've got no gouges down the sides, look. I had on the other side a sticky piston ring, and this one was burnt and the rings were small. Stick that baby in there. Same shape as this one. I've cleaned this one up, wiped it down, look. It was black. I'm going to put that one in a solid cleaner as well. This is the one that had the sticky ring. And just where these pins are was a little bit dirty. Well, actually it was a lot. Just there where you can see where I've caught it. But look, no gouges. Just has it been firing past the rings and igniting at the bottom of the crank. Let's stick it in here. Right, let's put it in there for 5 minutes and I'll come back to it. Last one, new rings. Let's have a look. I'll tell you what, that is a snug fit. How many times am I going to repeat myself today? I need to hone it and rebuild it. there is nothing at all, no gaps around that at all. It's just a reflection, nothing. That piston is absolutely snug as a rug. That old piston ring there, the bottom piston ring was stuck. Stuck solid. And my aim here is to put this back together. I'm going to paint it, I'm going to blast it, paint it, put the new seals, everything back into the valves, put the carbs on, rebuild that top and put it back on that bike. I'm going to see how she goes and see if it's, I mean I will be checking. I'll take this case off and I'm going to measure and check the pump. So I've ordered some clear hose. I like to run these on clear hose for two-stroke pipes, just so I can clearly see it being pumped through. So I'm going to replace this standard stuff, which is quite hard. Change all the black pipe, the pipe I can see. Take the casing off, check and adjust this pump if necessary, but make sure it's pumping. And go from there. Another thing I would advise people to do is, since this thing's never been taken apart, you look at some of these bolts, let's just retap them and just clean them up. Obviously I'll clean them up, retap them again, just make sure they go on like that. Look at that. Do the same with the one, obviously make sure I get cloth across. Do the same on the motor. Just going to cover, I don't want any shite going down the bottom of that crank. Just get this on and just clean these bolts up. These ones are minging. Yeah, stuck straight away. So much muck on there, so much rust. And just retap them. I will eventually take the motor out and rebuild it. Let's see how we get on with this. Keep us updated. Give us some opinions. Positive, negative. Only, you know, give us your opinion. You know, I'm not a bike builder. You know, I like to think I know what I'm doing. I do get them running again. There's the old there's the head there. And there's one of the corbs grabbed up, fully cleaned. This one's sitting here, going to be cleaned.